I ain't had you in weeks. I don't even remember how you taste on my lips. It used to be something I needed. Now I see I had a reason. I was bummed out, stressed out, yeah. Think you made me feel the best I had. For a minute I thought I needed you. Now I'm seeing through all of the reasons that I made up in my head. I'm breaking the habit. I'm breaking the habit. I'm breaking the habits that I had, 'cause look where it's got me. Searching for myself, didn't know I lost me. I ain't no saint. Let the devil have a way. I regret it every day. I was bummed out, stressed out, yeah. Think you made me feel the best I had. For a minute I thought I needed you. Now I'm seeing through all of the reasons that I made up in my head. I'm breaking the habit. I'm breaking the habit. I'm breaking the I'm breaking the habit. I'm breaking the habit. I'm breaking the I'm breaking the habit. I'm breaking the
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Hello, everybody. Hello. I hope everyone is doing well. This is Michael Voss, Dragon of the Southern Tier, here with you today. And yes, today is my birthday. I'm happy to be here with everybody. This is one of the best ways I can spend my birthday, is to spend it with you. So I'm happy to be here. Oh, wow. We're dropping some frames. I wonder why. Okay. Losing a couple of frames there. I apologize if it dropped for a moment. So again, it's Michael Voss. Oh, wow. We're dropping some more. Connection's a little bit rough today, so we'll deal with that. Not a problem. I'm happy to be here with everybody, though. I love and enjoy being here with all of you guys. And truly, on my birthday, I can't think of a better way to spend my birthday than to be here with everybody and just enjoying your company. You guys make it all worthwhile. You really do. And that's why I'm happy to be here. And I'm trying to tweak my system as we talk, so please bear with me. And I'm looking for my sound effects, which I cannot find here. Of course. Because I'm looking for my applause and I can't find them. There it is. Oh, okay. There it is. Move some things around. I applaud you, each and every one of you. You guys make it all worthwhile. That's why I do this week after week. Why I've been doing this for a couple of years. It's why I do the political commentary and everything else that I do. This is because I love you guys. You are great, each and every one of you. For whether you see the show live or if you see it afterwards when it's taped, whether you go to my podcasts, my blogs, wherever it is, your support, your being around, your comments, you make it worthwhile. And I want to thank you. On my birthday, I want to thank you because you guys are great. You make it worthwhile. And that's why I do it. That's the only reason why I do all this. And today's show is going to be a little bit different because I want to talk a little bit about my experiences going through the last 50 some odd years. I want to talk about what's going on, of course, in the news and what's affecting us all today. I want to hear from you guys, your comments, your thoughts. I'm looking on Facebook. I have my Twitter up. You can obviously call into the show at 607-242-9247, and I'll be happy to take people's comments, whatever it is, on any subject, of course, that we're talking about here today. And I'm happy to have those comments come in, any of the tweets, or you can go to the chat room and for the blog and the chat room for the show here on the Exceptional Conservative Network, and I'll be happy to answer your comments there. This is interactive, as always, but especially today on the birthday. I want to have more of a comment with you guys for the next 2 hours. That's why I do it on Saturdays, to give us extra time to talk, to have a conversation. I probably just want to start off, and again, it's a little bit different, but I want to start off with something a little different than what I usually do, because I want to talk about how we got here, how I got here. You know, I'm now 51 years old as of 2:41 a.m., and I am very thankful for that. It's a lot of time to be in this world and to see the various things that are going on. And it's not, I'm happy. It gives a very unique perspective on the world and what's been happening and what we've been seeing going on. And, right now I'm just showing you a little bit of me over the years. Back in 1986 when I got out of high school, going to college, and bang, there it is. I was joining the Marines just like my father and serving our country because I truly believe that was the best thing I could do at that time, and I still do. And I understand those who don't take on military service, but I do appreciate and I thank and I love everybody who does, because I understand it's the greatest gift. It's giving everything, literally, in many cases, everything for our country, because it's a great country. In this country, and I want to be clear about this. This is a country where I, as a poor kid, I grew up poor in the Bronx, and my mother did a great job. I do not want to make anyone think she didn't. She did a great job raising me, my brothers and sisters, by herself, working 2 jobs, going hungry many a night, making sure that we could all get through high school, and believe it or not, all of us went to college. And this is an area in the Bronx where a lot of people fell victim to crack and never achieved or joined gangs and went to prison. A third of my friends, before I got out of high school, had gone to prison. We lost, a third or so, a quarter of all my friends died, either directly because of crack and addiction or because of gang violence or violence in general due to drugs. We lost a lot of people. And much to my mother's credit, every one of her children has gone to college. Okay? They all have, my brothers and sisters have degrees. And they own their homes. They've done phenomenally well. And I'm thankful for that. And that's because of my mother. And today on my 51st birthday, and I've already spoken to her earlier today, and I know she doesn't like me talking about her too much, but Mom, forgive me for this. But, she did a fantastic job getting us through as a single parent, working so hard. And in that environment where drugs were rampant, where violence was rampant, in the 80s, each and every one of us went to college, and they all got their degrees. I didn't. That's a known fact, but they did. And they've done exceptionally well. I'm very proud of my brothers and my sisters, all of them, for what they've done and how far they've gone, traveling overseas, businesses that they own. They're great successes. And that's due to my mother. And for myself, I will say, here I am, poor kid, joined the Marines, got to travel a little bit, left the Marines, went overseas, lived in Moscow, came back, and eventually, this poor kid without a degree ran for Congress. And, you can see that in 2014, those images, and did well, raised issues, brought up important questions about what should be the direction, not only for the New York 22nd District, but for our nation. And in 2018, I continued on this path in my 50th year, talking about what's important for us and having this conversation with you and being able to cover the president, getting cleared by the Secret Service. The first time that I was able to be at an event where the president was, and then this year, going to CPAC 2019 and seeing the president and covering that event and covering all of the politicians and people who are leading our nation and coming up with the ideas that make a difference. And I have no degree. I'm not special. I'm not rich. My family has no connection to politics. We're just, poor black Puerto Ricans, and we're black and Puerto Rican. And we did it. And we did it. And guess what? So can you. And that's one of the messages I want to get across today is everything that I've done, you can do. And I am sure each and every one of you seeing this today, you can do it even better. It's not that I'm not special. I'm not. You're special. You're special because you can do everything that I've done. And I'm sure that you will do it even better. So, I just want to go through a couple pictures here. This is me just last year after a wonderful event up in Cortland. And, a lot of people see me like that, but something that you don't usually see too often. And I just want to scroll through. And you can see this on my Facebook page. You can see some of the events where I was at last year covering the Blue Angels, talking and over at the OC bikes. But more importantly, this is my sister. She's fantastic. Great success. I wanted to say hello to her. And I want to say, Jennifer, you're doing a great job. That's my youngest sister. Right there next to me, hamming it up, of course. I don't normally take pictures with family or even with myself usually. And there's my rest of my family, my other sister, Francine. And by the way, I'm the oldest, so everybody is younger than me there. And my younger brother and my mother, they're on the left. I know she's going to hate me because I showed her face, but she hates to be seen. But, that's my mom, and I wanted to share that. And now it's frozen, of course, so it doesn't want me to show what I'm trying to get to here. There's another picture I wanted to show. Nah, it's probably because I was showing my mom and she's mad at me now. So the system doesn't want me to show anything else. I wanted to show my nephew, and we're going to try and get back to that. But the point of that is, our family went from nothing to being able to be successful. And if I learned anything in the last 51 years, you can be successful too. There is absolutely nothing stopping you. Don't believe that anyone who says you can't do it, don't believe them. If there's no reason why you can't do it. I've seen far too much in my life to say you can't do it. I've seen people do it over and over again. If you're feeling bad, don't go to drugs. Don't go to suicide. Succeed. You can succeed. You will succeed. It just may take time. It may not happen as fast as you think it will. It may not happen the way you think it will. But that's okay. Not everything happens exactly the way we think it will. And that's all right. But it will happen. It will happen. And by the way, just so, because I wanted to show it, and this is my nephew. Yeah, he's a young kid. He's got that young milk down in Florida. There you go, Lance. That's you too. And that's my younger brother, Richard. So I wanted to show him off too. So that's just my family. And I don't show them very often, and I don't talk to them I don't talk about them very often, but I am very proud about each and every one of them. And I wanted to celebrate them on my birthday today because I think it's important. Because no one gets to wherever you go by yourself. And there's lots of trials and tribulations. This last year has been a very difficult year. A lot of people don't realize, or some do. I've been out of work since it's been over a year now. We struggle to keep the lights on, to keep this program going every day, to keep the studio in the home. It's difficult, and I understand the difficulty a lot of people have out there. It's not easy, and you rely on your true friends. You rely on honest people and if you surround yourself with true friends and honest people, and you live by your passion, and you go for it, it'll work. Maybe not overnight, but it works. By the way, since I did bring it up, I will mention, and if you support the show and you support what we do, please go to our GoFundMe, do support. I do want to thank and applaud Ed Hickey, Jared D., Robert Murphy, John Solak. You guys, you've helped out. It makes a difference. It helps pay the bills, helps keep the lights on. So I wanted to thank each and every one of them for their efforts to help us continue this program. And I do want to thank also, I don't have pictures, but Mike Woodward, excellent, great support. He's been a big help. He works with me a lot on a lot of the events and things that I do. So I want to thank him. And I do also want to thank Ken McClinton, who's also done fantastic work. He's the owner of the Exceptional Conservative Network. So I want to thank him as well. So, yeah, I'm starting off the show very different today because I want to give thanks. And I'm spending the first segment here of our 2 hours together because I think it's important to thank people. And I want to do it today on my birthday. I don't get a lot of time to normally do it, but I do want to make that point of thanking people for helping me to get to where I am today. I think it's important. And there's a lot of ways I can spend my birthday. I could be out, and there's nothing wrong with, going out and drinking, hanging out with friends, just sitting back all day. Those are all great things. And I probably will do a little bit of all of those, I suppose. I don't know. But I think it's also important, at least for me, to be able to thank the people who support me. Oh, I can't leave out Tina and Jeff Dubois. You guys are great. The support you've given me over the years, I cannot thank you enough for that. And Jeff, I know it's your birthday today too, so please have a great birthday. Enjoy it. We'll try and have as much fun as I'm hoping to have as well. So I do want to, that's the big opening today, is I wanted to spend time thanking everyone, all the true and honest and dear people who've helped me get to where I am today. Because I don't get here today without you guys. I don't. I can't. And I appreciate each and every one of you, both for watching the show, for calling in, to sending your messages, for just knowing me and being there. I thank you all, each and every one. And there's many, many more people. I just can't get through the entire list. It's just too many people over the years. Stephanie, Scott, Lisa Mulvihill, don't think I forgot you guys. Of course, the brothers, Chad Williams, and Mike Hope, and Caswin Sinclair. Guys, I'm always thinking about you. Mark Hayes, I haven't forgotten you either. These are some of my oldest friends that I've known now for, while giving away their ages, over 40 years. So, true, dear friends throughout all time. And I thank you guys for putting up with me. I'm not always the best person, I suppose. But, I love them all. So, yeah, that's what I wanted to start off the show with. just taking some time to thank everyone, because I think it's important to take time out and just thank people. And I hope it's uplifting also for other people to understand. You can start off poor. You can struggle. And if you surround yourself with good people and you surround yourself with a goal and live your passions, you'll do better. You'll do well. You will move forward. Take that as a positive. Don't let the bad days hold you down. Don't take the excuse of, opioids and drugs to try and escape from it. You can't. You can get past everything and be better. And you will. And you will. So I did want to say that. Now, that's the start of the show. But let's actually get into the meat and potatoes. Why are we actually here? Well, we're here to talk about some of the politics. And I do invite each and every one of you to leave your comments. As I said, I'm looking at the chat room. I'm looking at Facebook. You can call in. And, of course, Twitter at the MV Consult. For Twitter, you have my email, info@vosconsult.com. You can send an email. I don't look at that while we're on the show, but you can definitely send it in. Or you can just call in 607-242-9247. So now I want to get into the problems. I don't know if not enough people have heard about this. One of the big things that I'm really concerned about right now, and I want to say shame too, is Senator Ron Wyden. He's a Democrat out of Oregon, and I love to say this is my Game of Thrones shame on you, Senator Ron Wyden. And you're going to say to me, well, Mike, why? And that's because he's looking, as of April 2nd, he put out this bill. You would have thought it was a joke, but except it came out on April 2nd, where he wants to tax people on money they don't have, on money they didn't get. That sounds crazy, right? Can you imagine someone coming up to you and say, hey, you owe taxes for something you don't have? You're going to look at them and say, what are you talking about? You go to a restaurant, and before you have a meal, they tell you, well, you got to pay for the dessert that you didn't have, whether you're going to have it or not. You might have a dessert at the end of the day, since you're here in the restaurant. So we're going to charge you, and you're going to pay for a dessert. Whether or not you actually have it, that's another thing altogether. You'd say, you're crazy. I'm not going to that restaurant. Well, that's essentially what Senator Ron Wyden is saying. He is saying that if you have an investment, you have to pay taxes on it. If you have an investment and it goes up, so if you have a stock, you own gold, you own silver, if you have a house, anything that appreciates, you have to pay. He wants you to pay taxes on it if it goes up. You have a small business that you started and it doesn't close down immediately. He wants you to pay taxes on that business, on anything that's grown. And that doesn't mean it's going to be a success. So, imagine that. He wants you to have anything that gets more value. So if you open a business, so you start from zero, you have no money coming in, you start your business, and at the end of the first year, your business still exists. Okay, that means it has a value that's grown. Let's call it $1,000. The business is now worth $1,000. He wants you to pay taxes on that $1,000. That doesn't mean your business is making money. And most businesses don't make money in the first 3 to 5 years. That's the rule. Most businesses are planned for 5 years of losses, but the first 3 are probably going to be a loss as you build up your business. But the value of that business will grow. Whether or not you actually make a profit, the business value grows because, you have customers, you sell products or you services, you have assets, whether it's computers or equipment, you're going to have that business grow. And he wants you to pay taxes on that, even though you lost money. That's crazy. Think about that. That's crazy. Now, his answer is, well, that will make things equal. Everyone will have equality. Isn't that fair? Isn't that fair? No, Senator Wyden, it is not fair. That is not fair. That doesn't help anyone. It's that kind of an idea that he hasn't put the bill out yet. This is what he has said so far, and this is a proposal he is putting together. But I think we need to stop him before he even goes forward with this. This is a bad idea. How are people supposed to grow their wealth? Imagine that you're 20-something, you're 30, you buy a home, and now you have to pay taxes on it, which you may not have the money for. Maybe you go and you start to invest because you're thinking of not for your retirement, but because you want to buy a home maybe in the future. Maybe you want to have a college fund for your kids. Maybe you just want to have a business in the future. Whatever your reason, you decide to invest. And that money that you invested, now he wants you to pay taxes on it. Not that you have extra money. You may be scraping together, that may be only $5, $10, $20 put aside every year towards an investment or a mutual fund. And he wants you to pay taxes on that. I don't know. To me, that seems absolutely insane. It seems like a stupid idea. It is not beneficial. And not only CNBC, and most every financial analyst I know of, an economist I can find, disagree with this. Think it's a horrible idea. It's going to do what happened in New York State. Everyone's going to leave. We see in New York State, they're trying to increase taxes, tax everything. And that's why we're short $2 billion as of February, and why even more people are expected to leave now as they find more and more ways to take money away from people rather than investing in the state. And it's not working. Just Manhattan raised up the minimum wage in the city of New York to $15 an hour for the fast food workers, like Seattle did. And what happened? Exactly what happened in Seattle, what happens everywhere. Just like the CBO told us, the Congressional Budget Office, they told us in 2014, you raise up the minimum wage artificially to $10, it's going to cost us $500,000 jobs. Now, in New York City, they raised it up, and what's happened? Businesses have closed down, workers are getting less hours, and there are fewer people working. There you go. It's whenever you do these artificial moves, we're trying to make things equitable. We're going to give people equity. We're going to make it equal because it's social justice and unfair. And every time they do that, the consequences of what they have done hurts more people than it helps. Every single time. Because when you're trying to fix the outcome and give someone, you're controlling what it's going to be, you absolutely, every single time, destroy the potential and the opportunity. And they always, each and every one of these politicians don't look forward to see, and what is the consequence of what they have done. And we need to speak out about that. And that's why I'm saying to Ron Wyden, no, you cannot, you should not do what you have done. Shame on you. You're putting together a bad bill. You're putting together a bad bill. And you can look this up yourself at the Senate Finance Committee site. Go to the newsroom, look at it's under the Ranking Members News, April 2nd, and you'll be able to see the Wyden to unveil plan to ensure wealthy pay their fair share, except it is not limited to the wealthy. This affects everyone who is trying to grow and plan for the future, and anyone who's trying to build a business or save and make investments. It hurts everyone. It's a bad idea. It's just not good for anyone. But with that said, we're going to take a quick break. I'll be right back, and then we'll go forward. I'll try and find my glasses so I can read a little better, and then we'll go forward with the show. And I hope you like this. And by the way, let me know what you think of the music, too.
Oh, she took 5 steps. Oh, and she was gone. Oh, it's one of those times. Oh, it's one of those times. She said, I know you ain't got a cheating heart. Oh, your love is true. You just gotta. She never gonna fall. Oh, it's gonna love this time. Oh, it's one of those times. It's one of those times. Oh, it's one of those times. Oh, that woman, she don't mean a thing. She just had eyes of fire in a heart so cold. One touch, lost control. Oh, it's one of those times. Oh, it's one of those times. Oh, I can't admit sometimes a man is wrong. Oh, she took 5 steps. Oh, she was gone. Oh, it's one of those times. Oh, it's one of those times. Thank you.
All right, everyone, we are back, and I hope everyone enjoyed the musical break. By the way, this is Con. Say hi, Con. Say hi. Say hi. Hi. This is Con. Good boy. Go ahead. Back down. So when you hear the noise in the background and you're wondering what is that, that's Con. And I know he gets more love and likes than I ever do. He's just so fun. He's 6 years old, by the way. Believe it or not. all 15 pounds of 6 years. So he's a great puppy, and I love him. He does a great job. He's a good guard dog. So we're talking today on my... hang on. Why is it messing up? I love the fact that it's dropping. Okay. For some reason today we're having a lot of trouble with the internet. I don't know why. Never usually happens, but okay. But today we're talking about a lot of issues. And I'm trying to make sure the system brings back up everything. There we go. One of the other big things I've been talking about is Joe Biden, of course. And everyone knows Mr. Biden has been having his fair share of problems, along with Beto O'Rourke. They have not been doing well. Boy, it's a tough day. And I find it interesting that the politics today have skewed so much. 50 years ago, throughout my lifetime, I have never seen so many people apologizing for being born, for apologizing for being who they are. And I think that's one of the worst things that we could possibly see. I mean, it just doesn't make sense to me. Why in the world would anyone want to apologize for being born? I don't care if they're white or not. I don't understand why Beto O'Rourke wants to be Hispanic. What's wrong with being Robert? What's wrong with not being Hispanic? It's great. I'm Hispanic. I have no problem with that. What's the problem? Why is it that he has to hide behind a Hispanic name because it's going to get him more votes? That's not who he is. And same thing with Joe Biden. Why apologize for being white? Now, I understand Joe Biden has other issues with he's a bit handsy there. But I have to ask people, all the people who are very upset with Joe Biden right now, all the people making the accusations against him, where were you? Joe Biden is not new to politics. Not hardly. His actions are not new. If you look back, Jon Stewart was very, very public in making his statements about the handsy nature of Joe Biden. So we're not surprised by this. No one should be surprised at all by what Joe Biden does. It's what he's always done. And I don't necessarily think that this is something malicious. I don't think he's doing it to be a bad guy. But I do believe that there's a problem. There's a serious problem here. And I don't think it's necessarily his problem. I think it's the nature of what's going on, that we're seeing so much division, that we're seeing so many people fighting against themselves and others. And that's the problem. And that's a big problem. Now, what do we do about that? That's a good question. How do we move forward? I'm not sure. I'm not sure that we can necessarily go forward from this point, because it's such a problem. It's such a problem right now. But we have to do something, because we can't keep going down this path the way we have been. Whoops.
Grid. Just take, for instance, what's happened in California.
Whoops. Sorry about that. Hit the wrong button. We can't keep going down this path with our nation. We can't keep seeing this process continue, because it's going to hurt us. It is hurting us. And we need to make it better. We need to make this better for everyone. So how do we do that? I don't know. But I don't know that, actually, I'm very sure that denying who we are, denying what we were born as, whether that be male, female, white, Hispanic, whatever it may be, denying that and somehow apologizing for that is not the answer. But I do know that the Democratic Party is looking for that. They have been looking for that identity and gender politics, and that's why we see consistently now who keeps moving around. Well, we're seeing Kamala Harris. We're seeing Elizabeth Warren. There's more of them. You know, as I mentioned before, I believe that the choice on the Democratic side for the presidential ticket's already been decided. It's going to be all women, and possibly women of color. We're going to see Kamala Harris or Elizabeth Warren or Kirsten Gillibrand. They're going to wind up being the ones who are going to lead the Democratic Party forward in the 2020 presidential nomination. Now, you may not agree with me. You think, Mike, that just doesn't make any sense. They haven't achieved anything. They haven't done anything. And the answer is yes, you're absolutely correct. In decades of service between all of them, easily about 50 years of service, have they done anything of any significance? Absolutely not. Do they deserve it? Maybe, maybe not. But what I can say is they're women. And that's the thing that's important about 2020. And listen to what people are saying about the 2020 election, that it's all about gender. It's all about identity. It's about the fact that people are saying it's important to be, if you're not a specific gender, if you're not a specific race, then something is intrinsically wrong with you. You know, in the 70s, I remember people saying something like that if you were intrinsically not a certain race, if you were, you had a certain look or a certain name, that there was something wrong with you. And in the 70s, we call that racism. Whether it was directed towards blacks or Hispanics or Asians, it didn't matter. If you were espousing this idea that some people are better than others because of their color, because of their sex, because of their sexual preference, well, that was considered racism and homophobia, a bunch of isms. What do we have today? They're celebrating that very same thing. It just happens to be a different group that they're targeting. So instead of targeting black people and Hispanics and Asians, instead of targeting gays, they're targeting straight people and they're targeting white people. They're targeting conservatives and Republicans because we say you're an individual. You're good or bad based on what you do, the success you have. And that's somehow a bad thing these days. And I think the reason for that is because there's such a need to feel that they are right when we hear from people in the far left, the people who support the gender and identity politics. Matter of fact, I think one of the best people talking about that actually comes from the left, and that's Stephen Fry.
My real objection is that I don't think political correctness works. I want to get to the Golden Hill, but I don't think that's the way to get there. I believe one of the greatest human failings is to prefer to be right than to be effective. And political correctness is always obsessed with how right it is without thinking of how effective it might be. I wouldn't class myself as...
And that's the key words there. They want to be right no matter how ineffective it is. And we're seeing that. We're seeing that in the predictions and the direction that the left is going in. It's not about whether this works, whether their ideology works. It's about they feel like it works. They feel that that's important. And everything else doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if it actually works. You know, Governor Cuomo doesn't care, or I'm sure he might care, but he's looking at his policies and he's not looking at them to be effective. He's trying to make people feel like it's effective. I'll point out the red flag legislation, something that I absolutely, absolutely hate. And I've been very, very public about that. And you can go to my website, themvoss.com, the Voss Political Commentary, and you can check it out. And I was talking about the 8 reasons why red flags don't work. And yet, at the same time, we have the red flags being discussed in the Senate and the Green New Deal. These things don't work. They're never meant to work. They're not supposed to. They're supposed to make you feel good. You know, if you don't support the Green New Deal, well, you're evil because you want the world to end. I'm sorry, if the world's going to end in 12 years, which is statistically and realistically, scientifically impossible, then it doesn't matter. It's not going to stop. If we're talking about the red flag legislation, it's attacking people who haven't committed a crime. You know, I was talking about this recently, and I don't know why my system's still acting up, but I was talking about this with many people. Look at the red flag legislation. It is a violation of your 8th Amendment. I know a lot of people never pay attention. What is the 8th Amendment? What does that mean? The 8th Amendment is your protection against cruel and unusual punishment. Cruel and unusual punishment. That means that if you steal a loaf of bread, the government doesn't have the right to chop off your hands. Okay, it's pretty straightforward. Get that. But what's the difference when you look at a red flag legislation as an example, and someone can make an accusation against you and take your property and or your kids? And that's a consequence of it. They can take your kids. That's devastating. That's a problem. And I have to say, that's a big problem. That's cruel. You haven't committed a crime, but yet the red flag legislation punishes you as if you did. And after the fact, after you've gone through this process, after you've been punished and you had your property taken, and or your kids have been taken, only at that point do you get to go back to the courts and try and defend yourself. That's not due process. That's not protecting yourself. I've heard people like Congressman Anthony Brindisi try and defend it. He's saying, oh, no, there's due process there. There is due process after the fact. And that's the part they try and leave out, after the fact. And that troubles me. That troubles me greatly, because after the fact is not the fact. I don't know. And I've noticed that, I don't know what it is, but today, for some reason, on these subjects, today, I'm getting all the troubles with the internet. But please, bear with us. I know the frames are dropping a little bit, but bear with us. It's a good show. And I'll have it all on YouTube as well. But it's troubling to see this trend, to see this direction that we're seeing the nation travel in. That we're seeing so many people apologize for being what they are. You know what? In the 70s, no one would ever apologize for being black. No. That would never happen. No one in their lifetime, you know, when the NAACP was putting out the commercials, a mind is a terrible thing to waste, you would never hear them say, except if you're black, or if you're a light-skinned black, or dark-skinned black, or if you're a conservative black, or if you're a Republican black person, or if you're Hispanic. They would never say that. They would never divide people that way. They would never break it down in that manner, because it's crazy. How dare you? How dare you make that kind of a statement? Every mind is important, and none of them should be shunned. And I agree with that. I don't agree with someone saying, well, I have to apologize. If any one person has to apologize for what they are, then we all have to apologize for what we are. I don't care if that happens to be, oops, wrong one. I don't care if it happens to be Beto O'Rourke or if it has to be Joe Biden. If they have to apologize for being white, then one day someone is going to come to you and say, you have to apologize for being whatever you are, whether that's male or female or trans, or if you happen to be straight or gay, you have a religion that you believe in, or if you don't, if you happen to be Hispanic or black or Asian, there is no difference. If you can demand from any one group that they must apologize for what they are, then you can demand from every group that they must apologize for what they are, depending on whoever is in charge on that day. And that's a problem. That's something that shouldn't happen in America. That's what leads to the massacre in Darfur, because of the ethnic cleansing going on. Because one group of people demand that another group of people must apologize for being alive. And that's terrifying. That's a terrifying thought, that someone has to apologize for existing. That's how you get genocides. That's how you get massacres. And I know everyone likes to point to the Nazis all the time. But no, I'm not going to point to the Nazis. Let's look at Darfur. That ethnic cleansing. With over 400,000 people who have been killed. 1.5 million people displaced, women and children. It's been going on for 2 decades. And that is the true problem. That is ultimately the end that this leads to. That's where it winds up going. You wind up having nothing but destruction and despair. People aren't more equal because someone is apologizing for existing. Everyone is worse off for it. That's my thought. Now, you may disagree. And I would love to hear and please, send me a text or contact me. Let me know why you would think that it's perfectly fine and that it's good that someone apologizes. What benefit do we have? How does anyone benefit for apologizing? And this is a conversation I've had before. I had this conversation with one of my local politicians, Conrad Taylor. He was a 20-year-old gentleman at the time, and he had just won on the city council of Binghamton, New York. And I was talking with him, and he apologized for being white to me. And I had to ask him, why? Why would you do that? I've never asked you to apologize for who you are. Why would you tell me you're sorry for being born? Don't you like being alive? Don't you like living the life you lead? Aren't you happy that you're elected in office? He said, yeah, I enjoy all of those things. Then why would you apologize for it? Why? How does that make my life better? And see, this is the reason why you're not going to see any of the men running, whether they're white or not, I don't believe are going to make it to the Democratic 2020 nomination. Because they have to apologize for either being white or being men, or being whatever age they may be. And that's wrong, because that has nothing to do with whether they have good ideas or bad ideas. And I'm not sticking up for the Democrats. I think the whole Democratic Party is in the wrong direction. I am very honest and direct about that. But at the same time, if we allow this to happen to them, then it happens to everyone. And I believe in defending everyone's rights, even the ones I don't agree with. Even the ideas and the ideology that I think is actually destructive to our nation, I want to defend the right of people to have those ideas and to support those ideologies. Because it's important. Because they should. Because I don't get to choose what you get to live. Somehow, the progressive leaders of tomorrow, otherwise known as PLOT, Citizen Action, Black Lives Matters, Antifa, these guys don't seem to understand that I can live with them having their ideas, but somehow they can't live with me having mine. Somehow I'm evil. I don't know. Back in the 70s, a lot of people had the same ideas I have. I think today, most of America has a lot of the ideas that I have. Not all of them, not all the time. Maybe we have differences, of course. But that's okay. And you could have those differences. But now you can't. Somehow now, if you have a different ideology, something is wrong. You're evil. There's something bad with you. You should apologize for it. Why? Why? There's a big difference in life between being evil and doing evil things and just being you or having a different idea. And we should never lose sight of that. We should never lose sight of the fact that there is nothing wrong with having a different idea. It is not the same thing as being evil. Evil is a whole different category. It goes into a whole different realm. Look at the mass shooters. Those are evil people doing evil things. Someone saying, I support babies that are born alive not being aborted. That's not the same thing as going out and trying to do a mass shooting. It's not the same thing as saying a baby has been born and let's kill it. I mean, it's a bit controversial for some people, I suppose, but I don't think it is. But there's a big difference. To be pro-life and to be pro-abortion And there is that reality. If you're saying that abortions can happen up till and after the moment of birth, that's pro-abortion. That's pro-death. You're willing to kill. Because at the 9th month and beyond, that's death, that's murder. That is what it is. We have to be honest with each other. We got to stop using different terms and use the terms that are accurate to what it is. That baby has been born, and if you allow it to die at that point, that is a murder. That is the most innocent form of human being. That's murder. Not saying you can't make concessions, that we can't have agreements, but that's too far. There is no line anymore. And that's a problem. And this is what you get when you have people saying only certain people are important. Only certain things are important. You have to apologize if you're not that certain thing, that certain category today. And every time we've seen human beings related to categories, every time people have been made to be a category, we have seen the consequence of that being death on a scale that is incredible. It's devastating. It's always been bad. And that kind of scares me. Because if we continue down this road, if the Democratic Party continues to be based on people as categories, not as individuals, not as people with benefits and good and bad parts to them, but nothing more than their skin color, their gender, their sexual preference, their ability to just follow the line, toe the line, the party line. That's it. If that's all we've got coming from them, and that's seeping into the rest of our society, we are in trouble. It is dangerous. It does not benefit us. I am sorry to hear Joe Biden, Beto O'Rourke, or anyone else say that they are apologizing for existing. Some of them are good people, some of them are not. Some of them have good ideas, some of them don't. But they're people. And they should never apologize for existing. They should never apologize for being them. That doesn't mean I have to support them. It doesn't mean I have to think they're right. But it definitely means that I support them existing and having their own ideas and being the people that they are. They have that right in America to be imperfect because we are all imperfect. And because they are elected officials or want to be elected officials, we have the right to say, that imperfection is too much for me, and I won't vote for you. Because all of your ideas, all of your actions, on balance, either it's something I can support or not. And if I can't, then don't vote for them. Not require everyone to believe that that is the right answer. That takes us into a very dark, very bad place. And that is a problem. But I'm going to try and fix, I noticed in this segment, we're dropping a bit. I don't know exactly why that is. I'm going to try and fix the system here and try and get this improved. So we're going to take a quick break and then we'll be right back. We'll go with...
superstition lead the way.
Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining me back here at the No Soundbites Allowed podcast on the Exceptional Conservative Network. This is Michael Voss. You are joining me here on my birthday episode where I am happy and pleased to be able to be here with you all because you guys are great. And I do thank each and every one of you for being here today with me. You guys are wonderful, and I really, really do appreciate each and every one of you because you guys are such great fans and so wonderful. I enjoy and love that you guys are here with us every week. And whether that's live or whether it's after the fact on the show, it doesn't matter because you guys are great, really. And I enjoy doing this program week after week with each and every one of you. So, and to be 51 and here with you today, I can't think of a better way to enjoy my birthday and have the time I spend with you guys. And so today we're here, and we've got another hour. We're going to be here until 2 o'clock. I may do something a little different today than I've done in the past. For my birthday, I think I'm going to do extra shows afterwards, not on the network, but just jumping around on Facebook Live and some of the other sites just to speak a little bit more with everybody. So we'll see how that goes. But just getting messages here on Facebook and on Twitter, and I'm always trying to keep up with you guys. So please do let me know what's going on. I am paying attention. And I know that today a lot of people may see this a little bit more clearly on YouTube because for some the system's running a little bit difficult today. I don't know why. We're trying to fix that on our side, but that's okay. We'll get it worked out. The other thing I want to talk about, and it's looking at everything that's going on. I know so far in the show I've talked about my family and my thanks to my family and friends. I've talked a little bit about the Second Amendment. I've talked a little bit about what's going on in the 2020 election. And we're talking about, Ron Wyden and how he's going to negatively impact people for trying to just grow a business or to build, get a home, to expand and gain wealth. Inadvertently, in his attempt to take on people, to attack the most wealthy, he's inadvertently hurting the least wealthy because he's not thinking forward. He's not thinking, what are the consequences of his actions? And we see that a lot in politics today, where politicians are not thinking about, and then what happens? What is the consequence of their actions? We see that a lot. And we're seeing that also in the gender and identity politics that are being promoted today throughout the nation. The whole idea of people having to apologize for being born, for being white or male or straight or gay or anything that isn't being approved at this moment. And that lack of approval, that need to be approved for being you, is inherently dangerous. It is a problem, a big problem, when someone says you're not good enough just because you were born the way you were born. I think that's probably one of the most dangerous things that we could possibly hear. And so we've talked about that in the first hour of the program, and now we're going into the second hour. Of course, I'm always happy to hear your voices. I'm always happy to hear you tell me what you think, whether you think I'm right or wrong, whether you have a different outlook on it. Please contact us at the chat room. You can, at the TECN chat room. You can reach us on Twitter. You can call into the show at 607-242-9247. You can send me a tweet at MVConsult, or or even reach us on Facebook at the Voss Political page, and we'll be happy to answer any of your questions and speak with you more. But for a little while, I want to talk about what we see happening here. What's one of the most important things that we've seen recently? And I've talked a little bit about the red flag laws, which I think are a big problem. But I want to also address back on March 16th, almost a month ago, I asked a question. Are you willing to give up your property and potentially your family to ensure that other people feel more secure, even though there is no crime committed? Now, I was talking about that most directly because I was talking about red flag legislation, which is the loss of due process, and the fact that it also is cruel and an unusual punishment, a violation of the Eighth Amendment. But let's look at it in a broader sense. Let's look at it in the most broad sense. What are you willing to give up to feel like you are safe? Because I thought about that, especially during the break. I was thinking about that with all the things we're talking about, with people saying they have to apologize for who they are and being born. I have to ask the question, what are you willing to give up for this idea, this feeling that you're okay? Because we know there is a big emphasis now, especially to those who are 35 and under, to say that, hey, how can I put it, that you need to feel, and how you feel is more important than anything else. Doesn't matter what the facts are. If you feel better, then you are better. Or if you feel better, then it's okay. It doesn't matter if it's actually effective, if it actually works, if it's actually good for you or not. That's not the consideration. That has nothing to do with it. The consequences of it are unimportant. As long as you feel better, well, then it's okay. That is dangerous. That's, besides anarchy, being completely anarchist, it's the fact that it's also destructive. When we start going by the idea that you should give up things or you should be denied things for the mere fact that someone else will feel better, you've done something wrong, in my opinion. In the 70s, as an example, when I was growing up in the 70s, no one would dare ever say, hey, why don't you give up the right to vote so you can feel better? Why don't these people, and in the 70s that would have been someone who's black or Hispanic or Asian, why don't you just give up your rights because you were born the wrong color? Oh my God, if you said that, there'd be a riot. No one in their mindset would have ever agreed with that. No one would dare even say that. Well, actually, there were a group of people who said that. That were the KKK. There were the white nationalists. Individuals who were racist to the extreme, believed that people who weren't just right, who weren't just the way they wanted them to be, were considered subhuman, were considered unworthy, and that they had to be eliminated or subjectified. And that's dangerous, because there is no difference in my mind from the mindset of the 70s of those individuals and what we see today on the far left and those individuals. When you target any one group of people, in my lifetime, in my 51 years now, any time that you target a group of people and tell them that they are inferior for the mere fact of existence, for being born, then you are on a dark path. And every single time we have seen that happen, we have seen the same result: death on a large scale. Individuals who are subjugated and enslaved, whether that's economically or politically, which always equals the same thing at the end of the day, and have people who are like in Darfur. And I use that as a very real-world example. Let's throw away the extremity, and everyone rushes toward Nazi, 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 because, and it's lost a lot of its power. But let's deal with something that's real world that no one wants to talk about, because the immensity of the horror, the immensity of the terror is the reality. And it's just like, yes, it is like the Nazis. When you have an ethnic cleansing, the horror is too real for us to talk about, quite honestly. Why do you think people don't? And for those of you who don't know, look it up. Darfur, D-A-F-U-R. Darfur. Look up what the ethnic cleansing has been doing for 2 decades there. And that's based on the fact that the people there have the wrong religion. Nope. No. That's one of those little robocalls. But if someone does want to call in, please do. I'll put you on, but that was a robocall. Look at the ethnic cleansing that's been going on there, that no one talks about, that is ignored by our government, Republicans and Democrats alike. This was happening when President Obama was in office. It was happening under President Bush. It's happening today. It's not a political thing. Not in the sense of, left versus right, Democrats versus Republicans. It is just a fact. And that is kind of scary. That is actually very terrifying. That we can see this, that this is happening. And we really need to do something about this. We really, really do. Because it's... Oops. No, okay. Just have it live so I can listen and keep up with everybody. But I'm really concerned about that. I don't know, and a lot of the show today I think is going to be dedicated to this concept and this understanding that just isolating people based on some arbitrary criteria. Okay, today it's bad to be a male, especially a white male. And even worse if you're a white male conservative or Republican, but even just being a white male is horrible. Thus we have Beto O'Rourke and we have Joe Biden, Bernie Sanders. They're all having to apologize for having existed. And I can't see how that helps anyone at the end of the day. It creates the existence of a subclass of American citizens. Some citizens are better than others. How is that any different than the 50s when we said that black people weren't quite right? When the nation said that, Jim Crow was okay, that segregation was okay. How does this not lead to that same place? There's the question I really want to ask. And maybe you can ask the people who agree with this, and I know I often do. How is this not segregationist? And we've seen this. We've seen the segregation on an individual level. It's not coming from the government. It's coming from individuals. And they're saying, well, it's a good thing. And what I'm talking about are those safe spaces, especially when they're safe spaces that are separated by race. So black people can have a safe space, but white people can't. And even in some cases, in some college campuses, black people who are light-skinned can't go to the safe space for some reason. So it's segregation upon segregation. How does this help? I can tell you, in 50 years of life, looking back on this, segregation is bad. I don't care who's doing it. I don't care if people are volunteering to do it or if they're being forced to do it. Either way, segregation is bad. Separating people is bad. Whether you're talking about doing it based on the government's rule or whether you're doing it because you think it's a fun idea, that these people aren't allowed to have their voices heard, that these people, whatever these people may be, are somehow unimportant or evil, inherently evil because they exist. Because that argument can be, you can fill in those people with anyone. Today it's white males. Tomorrow it could be black women. The day after that, it may be gay Hispanics. Next day it could be transgender. You can always substitute who that group of people are that are not quite right, that don't deserve the same rights as everyone else. And the number of people who do deserve those rights gets smaller and smaller and smaller. And it's a more elite, singular group of people who are able to do that. In the 40s, it was Aryans. In the 70s, it was, racists. How is it not still the same thing today? I don't see the difference. I really don't. In 50 years of my life, I've seen it. This is the same thing I saw in the 70s, except it has a different... Today, it's popular. Today, it's on the news, and it's in the social media, and it's on memes, and it's said that it's a really great idea. But in the 70s, I heard some of the same language. I saw the same anger. I saw the same rhetoric. Except today it's being said by black people and Hispanics and Democrats. And in the past it wasn't. It was targeted against those people. We've gone, almost full circle. Maybe it's a 180, in that the people who were being subjugated just 40, 50 years ago are now the people who are trying to subjugate others. And I don't agree with it either way. I didn't agree with it then. I thought it was bad then. I don't think it's better now. And I have the perspective of being able to see, easily remembering 4 decades of my life and seeing both of these. Half a century has gone by, and I've seen the same thing has come back, except this time it's popular. And this time it's the people who were picked on who are doing the picking on. And I would be terrified. I think we should all be terrified of that, because it's not a good thing. It's not a good thing. I don't care who's in charge. The concept, the power play here is still a bad one. It's inherently destructive to our nation, to everyone in the nation. And one day, and that's the old saying, especially with free speech and those thoughts, one day it's you who are going to be restricted. It's you who are going to be targeted. It's going to be you who's going to be silenced. In the past, it may be this person or that person, and tomorrow, it's you. And to say that we believe in this or that we promote this is dangerous, in my belief, in my hindsight, looking at this. Maybe you agree. Maybe you don't. I don't know. But it's your thoughts. You can tell me. And I look forward to hearing what you have to say, whether it's in the comments. I know the feed is a little difficult today, but, go to YouTube. Leave your comments there. Go to Facebook. Leave your comments there. Go to Twitter. Leave your comments there. Tell me, what do you think about that? Do you think that this is one of the most dangerous ideas facing us going to the future? Not just in 2020, but I think it goes way beyond, because this is something that's being taught to our children. Essentially, it's racism and sexism that's being taught to our children and justified for our children. And so that means in 10, 15, 20 years, these kids are going to grow up with a strong belief and an absolute understanding that some people should be punished because they were born, quote, wrong. That they're not the right type of people. And that it's perfectly fine to persecute people for not being the right type of people. So it's not a danger for today. This is a danger for tomorrow. It's a very big danger for tomorrow. This is about the next generation and the generation after them. That they believe that certain people shouldn't have rights, shouldn't have speech, shouldn't be heard because they're the wrong type of people. And you can always substitute any group you want for that wrong type of people. And if we allow this to go forward today, whether or not it affects us directly right this second, it will damage us down the road. It does destroy the nation. It erodes freedom in every aspect down the road. I believe this is one of the most dangerous and most important things that we have to look forward to in the next 20 years. This concept that some people should apologize for who they are, and that we get to judge those people because of their inherent birth, because they're white, they're black, they're male, they're female, they're gay, they're straight. That we can inherently, because of that inherent thing, that has nothing to do with what kind of a person they are or what they do, but just because they exist. And the longer that we continue to believe this idea that because someone exists, we can judge them, and that they instantly become, it's like when people say, well, you voted for Trump, so all Trump voters are evil. Matter of fact, we had a guy on CNBC, it was MSNBC. MSNBC, what was it, 6 months ago, was calling anyone and everyone who voted for Trump was a Nazi. He said that on national news. He didn't get ostracized for it. I forget his name at this moment. You can look it up on YouTube and find it, or do a Google search on it. But yeah, he said that. And I have to be terrified when you can label an entire group of people who all have individual reasons why they may or may not have done this, voted for or against a presidential candidate. And when you lump them all into that one group on such a, and not just group them, but attribute them as evil, that is where the danger is. And I like to believe, and please correct me if I'm wrong, I don't do that. I'm not going to tell you I don't have to agree with the far left, and I don't. And I don't have to agree with their ideology, and I don't. That doesn't make them evil, each and every one of the individuals in there. I believe the organization is bad, and I think it's there to do bad things. But that doesn't mean that the members are evil. There is a difference. There is a big difference. I know many people who are in Citizen Action, as an example, who I don't think are bad people. And I've had conversations with them. Now, I don't agree with their conclusions. I don't agree with what they are looking to do. But that doesn't make them inherently bad, just because they're in that organization. I think the organization's goals are bad, not necessarily each member. And so there's a difference between disagreeing with an organization and its goals and the members who make up that organization for whatever their individual reasons are. But when we start categorizing people as a group, their individual reasons go out the window. Their individual attributes, their good and bad, their benefits, all of that goes out the window when we say, well, because you exist, you are bad. You can't do that and not have a negative consequence of that. It's just not possible. It has a negative outcome. And that's why Stephen Fry, as I showed in the video, and I'll be happy to do it again probably in a little bit, that's why he says this is dangerous. It doesn't work. It's a problem. And he's arguing, a man who is a strong advocate of the left, has to oppose the political correctness and this mindset of identity and gender politics, because it goes to a bad place. It doesn't get you to more freedom. It doesn't get you to equality. It gets you to subjugation. That's what I believe. And you may disagree, and that's okay. You don't have to agree with me. You don't have to believe what I believe for me to have a belief and to act on that belief to the benefit of people. I support Joe Biden being able to be a presidential candidate. I don't support his actions and more importantly, I don't support his beliefs. I support Beto running. I don't support his gender identity politics push, but I wouldn't stop him from running because of it. In fact, I think people should see that so that they can then decide for themselves is that important to them? Does Beto O'Rourke become a better candidate because he's using a Hispanic name even though he's not a Hispanic and giving himself a false image? Does he become a better candidate and a better potential president because he apologizes for existing? Did that somehow improve him? Does that make him smarter? Does that make his decisions better? Does that give his economic policy more credence? I mean, these are good questions. Does that improve him somehow? And that's a decision you have to make for yourself. If you believe that those inherent things make him better, then of course you should vote for him. I don't believe that. I don't believe that for anyone. Just because you're born doesn't make you better or worse. It's what you do. It's your character. It's your thoughts. That's what makes you good or bad. But I don't know. That's the way I think about it. Okay, we're going to take another quick break. Then we'll come back with the last half hour of the show. I think it's going well. If it has dropped for you at any point, please just go to YouTube. You'll be able to see the whole thing. But we're not done. We've got another half hour to go. And then we'll be back. And let's go with... here we go.
You tell me you're different. You say you got some things and you're working on. Oh, but I never listen. No. Was too busy thinking you're the perfect one. It's such a mystery, cause usually I'm looking for a reason to stay. But who would have believed that here I be and I just can't look away. Oh, you tried to give me a warning, so watch your step before you fall too hard. You tell me I'm crazy, I say not crazy enough, but I'm crazy for you, crazy, crazy about us. And I know that it's true, baby, it may be too much, but I'm crazy for you, crazy, crazy in love. Get if you're thinking you're alone and how you feel. I wanna show you the difference. If you let me, I could show you something real. It's such a mystery, cause usually I'm looking for a reason to stay. But who would have believed that here I be and I just can't look away. Oh, you tried to give me a warning, so watch your step before you fall too hard. You tell me I'm crazy, I say not crazy enough, but I'm crazy for you, crazy, crazy about us. And I know that it's true, baby, it may be too much, but I'm crazy for you, crazy, crazy in love. Never giving up, never giving up, never giving up up on you. Never giving up, never giving up, never giving up, never giving up on you. Never giving up, never giving up, never giving up, never giving up on you. Never giving up, I'm crazy for you. Never giving up on you. You tried to give me a warning, so watch your step before you fall too hard. You tell me I'm crazy, I say not crazy enough, but I'm crazy for you, crazy, crazy about us. And I know that it's true, baby, it may be too much, but I'm crazy for you, crazy, crazy in love. you. Never giving up, never giving up, never giving up, never giving up on you. Never giving up, never giving up, never giving up, never giving up on you. Never giving up, never giving up, never giving up, never giving up on you.
Hey, that was a good song. I do enjoy that one from my friend Matt Cornwell. And by the way, I do want to thank Matt Cornwell, Callie Cornwell, and Adam Ate the Apple. Those are, if you see our programs, you've seen some of the prior podcasts and videos, you'll hear their songs playing, and that's because they gave us the rights to be able to put them out there in the commercial breaks. Since we try to stay away from commercials as much as possible, and we rely on your funding to help us get through the day, to keep the lights on, and we do appreciate your donations. That allows us, the more we have that, the more we can get on different music groups and just do musical breaks in between. And so we do appreciate and thank them for that. And I hope if you are able, check them out. Check out their albums and look them up on YouTube and support them as well. We got to support our local musicians. I truly believe it. And other bands out there, if you're listening in, please let us know. Give us the right to be able to put on your songs, and we'll be happy to promote you as well. And I do want to also mention, give a shout out to the Belmar Pub in Binghamton, New York. Great. I know the owner. I know the workers, the bartenders there, and all the staff. Good people, great cooks, great food. I do recommend it for anyone. It's a nice little place. It's a nice mix of people from the town and the local community and students and graduate students all mixing together. And it's a lot of fun. And I do enjoy the place. And I do recommend it for anybody who happens to go through there. And no, none of these are paid advertisements. No one's paid me to say any of that. That's just something I believe. That's just today's the day. I just want to give thanks to all the people and all the places that I go to that I enjoy. Like Thai Time is a Thai food place. I enjoyed that a lot as well. And I know the owners there as well. And I think it's a great establishment, and I want to give them some thanks too. So as much as I want to talk about the very big positives out there, I do have to talk about, I think we all do this to some extent. On our birthdays, especially as we get a little bit older, we start looking backwards in time. We start evaluating, like, gee, look what's happened. Is this good? Is it bad? Is it the right thing? And today I've been doing a lot of that, looking backwards as well as forwards, looking at how different things are today than what they used to be, and what's going to be the future, the impact on the future as well as what it is for today. So, sorry, I'm getting just a different message, birthday message. And so there's a little introspection there, I suppose. And I'm sharing it with you publicly. And we can all have that introspection. But I can tell you that in looking over the years, I see so much of what happened in the 70s happening today, except it's reversed. Instead of, in terms of the segregation that's going on, instead of being forced segregation, it's being voluntary. And I don't see that as a positive. That's not helping anyone. That's not benefiting anyone. It's a negative. It's a massive negative. Segregation, no matter who's pushed it out there, doesn't help any of the people. Neither the people who are being segregated, nor the people who are promoting it. Whenever we separate people like that, for whatever reason, we don't grow. We don't develop. We don't improve. It just gets bad. It's just bad for us. Quite honestly, it's just bad for everyone. So that's a problem. And I think it's a big problem. But not everyone may agree with me. Maybe you think it's a good thing. And I would love to hear from people, and put it in the comments at the end of the video. Let me know. Why do you think, if you think segregating people based on their color or their race or their gender or their some kind of identity, if there's a reason for it, please explain to me. I can't comprehend that. And having lived through it, and I didn't live through the worst of the civil rights. I lived through the aftermath of it. But I've seen the difference in my lifetime of what it was to have those segregations and the trail end of that, and moving beyond that to where we are today. And we are much better off today than we ever were in the 70s. I'll say that right off the bat. But that doesn't mean it's over. That doesn't mean this isn't still an issue. It still is. In fact, we're going backwards in time. Based on what I've seen over the last 40, 50 years of my life, we're going backwards. We're becoming more segregationist, more racist, more sexist than we were in the past. And that brings us to a worse place for our nation, a more dangerous time, a more divided time, excuse me, which is not a benefit for anyone. It doesn't help us as a nation. It doesn't help us as individuals. When we can no longer talk to someone else because that someone else is different, whether it's because they're different politically or racially or sex or preference, when we start separating people like that and we stop listening to people, then we have a problem. Then we have a big problem. And I spend a lot of time, excuse me, I spend a lot of time talking with people who don't agree with me. Actually, I probably spend more time talking to people who don't agree with me than I do with people who do agree with me. And such is the nature of politics, and such is the nature of being outspoken. You hear a lot of people say, well, I just don't agree with that. And I'm always happy to hear that. And I always ask them, why? And I have yet to hear a really good answer on why segregation, when it's voluntary, is any different from segregation when it's involuntary. And I have yet to hear why that's a benefit for people. I mean, a reason that I would say is a valid reason or a valid benefit. You gain nothing from isolating yourself and separating and ostracizing others. You get nowhere, especially when you compare that to being more inclusive and having those conversations and challenging ideas that you don't agree with. And it is my belief, and I have to admit, I'm a near absolutist when it comes to the Second Amendment. Excuse me, the First Amendment. I'm a near absolutist when it comes to the First Amendment, the freedom of speech. I believe the best way to deal with speech, whether it's hate speech or whatever else you want to call it, speech you don't like, is more speech, more conversation, more discussion, and more open discussion to highlight the failures and the weakness and the problem. And I think that's the best thing we can possibly do. That's how we got rid of, and we have essentially gotten rid of the KKK and the white nationalists. And I understand the news media is pumping up that they are, and promoting the idea that these groups are growing. And they are growing somewhat now because the media has been promoting them and saying that they are growing. It's a kind of a chicken before the egg. During President Obama, white nationalism didn't grow, and it continued to shrink. Well, actually, it did start growing under President Obama at the end of in his second term. It started to grow because he started dividing the nation. And we've heard the media now promoting that throughout the entire time that President Trump has been out there. So when you have, it's like any kind of advertising. If you're promoting something, if you promote it enough, people will grow and come to it. That tends to happen. But the problem is we're not having a discussion about it. And we're watching so many groups out there promoting more and more segregation, which allows these very hyper-negative groups to continue to grow because they're not being challenged and confronted openly, publicly, and trying to say, well, please justify why such a negative viewpoint is going to benefit anyone. That's what we did in the 70s. That's what the whole 50s, 60s, 70s, that's what the whole thing was about. This doesn't benefit anyone. Let's have that discussion and prove that this is not going to help anyone. And when you do that, and they can't because it is inherently a bad thing. And hold on. It is inherently bad. And because it's inherently bad, and you show that to everyone, people stop. It stops being a thing, or at least becomes less so of it. There's always extremists. There's always that small percentage that'll be whatever. We can't control that. That's human nature. That's individual choices, but we don't have to promote it. And I think that we're seeing the exact opposite right now. perhaps there's an argument that says I'm wrong somehow on this, and I would love to hear that argument, but I have yet to hear it. I'm not aware of it. So it could be out there, but the only way we're going to know is if someone speaks out. But I find it interesting that every time that someone asks, not just me, but many others, when we ask about it, you never get an answer. People change the subject and talk about something else, or turn it on you and say, well, then you're evil because you don't agree, which is not an answer. That's definitely not an answer. That's avoiding the answer. That is avoiding the question completely. And it just justifies and it jumps to, well, you have to be right. Let me say it again here.
My real objection is that I don't think political correctness works. I want to get to the Golden Hill, but I don't think that's the way to get there. I believe one of the greatest human failings is to prefer to be right than to be effective. And political correctness is always obsessed with how right it is without thinking of how effective it might be. I wouldn't.
And that's the key. That's the key I see. And that's what I hear so much. As we look to return to segregation, as we return to telling people that they're bad because they exist, because they were born, whether it because they were born white or black or whatever, whether they were born male or female or whatever, because they were born straight or gay or whatever, because people are born a certain way, we have this movement telling people, well, you're wrong. Something's not right with you. That's not good enough. That it's somehow inherently bad. Because PC says, well, it must be. Because that's not equal. Because it's not the same. No, it shouldn't be. And we aren't. We're human beings. I mean, if we were to take a poll right now of everybody who ever sees this and everyone who ever will see this, how many people do you think out of every 100 are going to be black Hispanics who speak Russian and have lived in Moscow under communism? I can tell you, I think I'm going to be about it. Might be one, maybe one out of 100 more. That's about it. Probably 1 in 10,000. And based on the number of people of color that I saw when I lived in Moscow, yeah, it'd be about 1 in 10,000, if not 1 in 100,000. Well, about 1 in 10,000, really. And that just tells you, we're individuals. We live different lives. We have different experiences, and that is a good thing. And sharing those experiences and talking about them is a good thing. And having differences of opinion, political or otherwise, is a positive and a good thing. And I know I normally talk a lot more about politics, but today, being my birthday, I'm going into an entirely different direction, and I'm talking about my introspection on these things. And I've spent the show on it, and maybe it's been a good show for you, or maybe it's not. I don't know. But that's the way I'm doing it today. And then on Tuesday, and just as a reminder, Tuesdays and Thursdays at 1 p.m., I have my normal show. On Saturdays, it's 12 to 2. And we have a more interactive show, or we try to be. But yeah, today I want to be more introspective because I am introspective, having my birthday. And I'm looking backwards in time and saying, hey, I'm seeing the same things. And what it was in the 70s is not good. Not as good as what we saw in the 80s, the 90s, even the early 2000s. We were in such a better place than where we are today. As a nation, as individuals. We got along so much better. And it's not to say that things aren't improved, but just because they're improved today doesn't mean they stay that way. It doesn't mean that it lasts forever. These are things that you have to work at. It's kind of like a relationship. You have to work at it. You have to build and you have to communicate. And if you don't, it fails. And it falls apart. And that's kind of where we are in the nation right now. We're not communicating anymore, and things are falling apart. Things are breaking down because we're not speaking with each other, and when we're isolating ourselves, we're going off into our far corners. And when we do that, it stops working. And things fall apart in the middle, where we're not looking, where we're not willing to go and take a look and talk about. This is the way I see it. Now, I could be completely wrong. Maybe I got everything wrong. Maybe nothing. Maybe you agree with nothing I've said so far today, which is possible. Okay. I'll accept that. Tell me why. Tell me why my insight is wrong. Tell me how. I really hope people are able to look at this and say, because I think it's really, really, really important for the 2020 election and everything thereafter, that we have to resolve this question of identity and gender politics. And we have to nip it in the bud and say that valuing people just because they fit this box, this category, does not make them good or bad. It has nothing to do with it. Ever. I don't care if they're Republican, Democrat, Libertarian, Conservative, the far left. I don't care. Just because you happen to be whatever box that someone wants to create does not inherently make you better or worse. Just not possible. And to put someone in that box and to even make the claim is inherently bad. And that's just my reminder that we're running out of time today, and we've got about 8 minutes or so left. So in those last 8 minutes here with you today, and I do plan that since it's my birthday, I'm going to jump over to Facebook Live, and I'll probably do and have a bit of a conversation over there. After that, I'll maybe jump onto YouTube Live and have a bit of a conversation there. It's my birthday, so my best plan for my day is to spend it with you guys as much as possible and have conversations with you all over the place. And hopefully everyone will enjoy that. Maybe you'll follow me on and off throughout the day. I hope so. And we'll see how that goes. Because it'll be fun. It'll be different. I'll enjoy it. I enjoy you guys. But I do invite everybody. There's so many different ways of looking at these things and so many different conversations. And I do invite you, go check out the Exceptional Conservative Network. Check we have some great people who speak on here. Ken McClinton, Dr. Jane Ruby, Jeff Duntz, Michael and Shannon Wright, and The Right Way, Lonnie Poindexter. So many people who speak and have conversations, and I'm not even covering everyone there. There's so many people and so many different points of view, and I think they're all important, and they deserve to be heard. And as we build this alternative idea, this additional option for people to hear voices that they don't necessarily hear, voices that we're told don't exist. You know, I'm a black conservative. I'm a black Republican. I'm not supposed to exist. Guess what? There's lots of us. I saw them at CPAC. I see them every day. I get messages from them on a regular basis. We exist. We're there. And there's nothing wrong with that. Again, don't put us in an inherent box saying, well, just because you have a political preference, you suddenly are good or bad. Listen to us. Talk to us. Maybe you'll learn something different about some of the views we have. But that's why I'm here. That's why I have this conversation. And I know a lot of people don't like to be very public about their viewpoints. That's what I'm here to do, to be that public voice, to raise those questions, to raise that challenge to the status quo, to not fear being ostracized, not fearing being challenged or being being called all kinds of names. Oh my God, you can only imagine some of the names I've been called. But that's what I've been doing for 50 years of my life, and that's what I'm going to continue to do. Because we need that. We need to have that voice, that conversation, that discussion. And when we stop doing it, that's when we have the problems. When people say you can't have that conversation, that's when we have the problems. I believe that absolutely. We need to have conversations. We need to have the discussion. And when we stop doing that, then things get to be very, very dark. So hopefully, I don't know, again, this has been a very introspective kind of show. It's a little bit different than I normally do. Not really talking about the politics of the day, and maybe later in the day I will be. But I wanted to share this with you. Share some of these thoughts, some of these observations I've had over the last 50 years. And you can tell me if you think I'm right. Tell me if you think I'm wrong. I always look forward to it. And I look forward to seeing you guys on Tuesdays and Thursdays. I look forward to seeing you on the Exceptional Conservative Network and listening to the other programs on there and having these conversations and listening to some of the guests that I have on here. I've recently had on Larry Ward and Steve Hayes and Ted Harvey. Some great conversations there. I had Sheriff Richard Mack on. We're going to have more. And Eric Caron, the former U.S. diplomat, was on with us. We're going to have conversations with all these guys. We're going to have so many more. Maj Toure is coming up, I hope, very soon. I'm going to be working to get him on, plus some local politicians as well. That's what this is all about, to have those conversations, to be able to reach out and speak with people, and to let you know about the different ideas and the different questions that aren't necessarily being asked that should be asked. And that's what we're going to always try to do here. And hopefully you enjoy it. And I enjoy speaking with you guys, to be out there and talking with you. Even when the internet is messing with me and dropping some of the frames and making it difficult, that's okay. I know the internet, we know that Facebook, Twitter, Google, they actively suppress and cause problems for people saying things that they don't believe. And that, again, goes to my question. If you don't fit the right category, then they start silencing you. And see, that's the problem. That's the problem. When you're being silenced for speaking, that's a problem. And we need to address that, because it doesn't get better if we don't talk about it. Now, I've got, I don't know, what is it? 2 minutes left here with you. And I'm 51. And I don't know, I want to again thank everybody that I know who have, my true friends, my honest friends out there, all my supporters, everyone who's done such a phenomenal job to help me be here where I am today and continue to keep the lights on and keep going. The people who supported me with donations and likes and shares, you guys make it all worthwhile. That helps so much. And it's so important. And I look forward to seeing more of that and more of you, because you're always welcome here. Always. I'm always happy to have you with us on the program. Whether you agree with me or not, that doesn't matter. I'm always happy to have you guys as part of this program, whether it's live or after the fact, because you make the difference. You are important. Your vote matters. And I hope that you're going to be back around to hear more of me and to be part of the program on Monday, on Tuesdays and Thursdays and on Saturdays, and as we go forward, as we continue. This is what, my 5th year now? We're going to keep going with this. It doesn't end. But in the last minute here, I'm going to take a moment just to try and do the usual thing for YouTube in the last 20 seconds there, so you're going to see the funny screen come up. But I do advise you and everyone that I want to time this just right so it comes out perfect. It's been quite a day so far. So if you haven't had the opportunity, we do advise, please check out some of our additional videos. You'll see them over there. You may like some of the videos and some of the things that we're talking about. If not, please go and check out our latest video. I think that you'll be able to enjoy that and you'll find it to be really interesting. Most of all, please don't forget to subscribe and hit the like button. It helps us a lot and helps to get the word out there. And as always, we thank you for all of your comments, and we hope that you're going to be well and enjoy your day as much as I'm enjoying my birthday. I look forward to seeing you again soon.